Well, hello, Charmaine. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited.
This is so fun. I am so excited for you to share your story with my listeners today, all about how you got started in this incredible industry and are making a name for yourself.
I'm excited to chat. It's been a long journey, so there's
Well,
lots to tell.
isn't that the truth? And I think that's always the part that I think doesn't get talked about enough. The part of the fact that we can all make our lives look real fun and awesome on Instagram. And that is generally not how most of the day looks.
Yes, lots and lots of up and downs that don't get shared, twists and turns, you name it. There's lots going on when it comes to running your business.
Isn't that the truth? Well, let's start from the beginning. I would love to hear a little bit about your background and what led you to starting Strategic Charm Boutique.
For sure. Well, for me, I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur since I was a child. So when I was really young, I knew that at some point I wanted to build my own business from the ground up. The type of business I wanted to run always changed as my interests changed and evolved as I was growing up. But my first business I ever ran was a talent agency when I was 9 years old. Um,
I love it.
right? Like I was very excited to start this new thing. And essentially what I did is I got a lot of a handful of my friends to create a Spice Girls cover band.
No,
And
you did not.
yeah, I totally did. And of course I had to be in it as well. So I was both the, the agency and the talent. Um, and yeah, I was trying to make it like a full-fledged business. So I said, okay, guys, we're going to perform a concert Saturday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I did all the marketing for it. I made posters. I took,
I cannot even, like, this is so not what I was expecting your first part of your
oh,
story to be. This is the best.
I
Might need to
went
take some
hard
Spice
with it.
Girl songs in the show notes here just to get started.
Why not? I think "Stop Right Now" was one of our favorite songs at the time. So
I love it.
feel free to throw it
I love
in.
it.
So yeah, that was my first little mini business, and of course I had a bunch of other things going on when I was a kid too that I was trying to make into something. But I would say it was when I was about 12 or 13 where we had a campus tour of Red River College here in Winnipeg, and they talked to us about this creative communications program where you would learn public relations, advertising, journalism, media, and a couple other things. And once I heard about that program, I had a feeling that was what I wanted to get into. So I knew, okay, at some point I'm going to want to take this program and then get into marketing, advertising, and what have you. And keep in mind, this is when I was 12 or 13. So this is before social media was what it is now.
Yeah.
So at the time, social media wasn't wasn't the end goal, but eventually here we are, and this is what I'm specializing in now.
Wow. I love that there was just like seeds, especially because having two kids myself and seeing them in the years that they're at 13 and 10, where they are every day, there's a new possibility of what they might want to do someday when they grow up. And I love that they always have these like new ideas viewing through their heads and that they don't have it figured out right now and that they can just like dream and sky's the limit. But I love that these seeds were just planted for you from such a young age and how something like people coming in and talking about what possibilities are out there just planted that seed for you and that you were able to evolve that from then and take it to what you're doing now.
Yeah, it's crazy and it's funny because I always say like who I am now. Like obviously I've evolved and I've grown up, but at my very core, I'm the same person I was when I was a child, right? So like I'm very much that person. Once I know there's something I want to do, it's not that there's no changing my mind, but I get very excited about it and I just want to like kind of throw all my energy at it. So yeah, as soon as I heard about that program, ever since then I knew okay, I'm going to get into marketing at some point. So then I went to University of Winnipeg. I went to Red River, got formal education, and again some bumps and bruises along the way, but here I am and still loving what I do.
That's amazing. So at what point did you, so how long have you had your company for now?
Strategic Charm Boutique, I started in 2016, so just over 5 years.
Wow. So was that the first step that you started in, or what were you doing first before starting it? Or was this just like, yes, I know I want to start my own business and I'm just going all in?
So when I graduated from Red River, I knew I wanted to get some industry experience and work, as a regular-ish day job. So after I graduated, my first job was I was an event planner here in Winnipeg, and I would plan weddings and galas and conferences and that kind of thing, working for a company here. So I did that here for a year, and then I moved to a small town in Alberta, and I worked as an event planner there for 2 years at a college. So I planned our college galas and
Oh,
other fundraising
wow.
events and golf tournaments and things like that.
Ah, yes, you are speaking my language here. I know it all too well.
Right, right. So that's what I was doing out there. And I knew I was going to be there for about 2 years because, again, it's a very small town and I'm very much a city person. So I figured 2 years was my limit. So when I was getting close to my 2-year mark, I had to decide, okay, am I going to move to Toronto and work for a PR firm there and get more industry experience, or is it smarter for me to move back to Winnipeg and just start my business in a place where it's my home, I have connections and friends and a support system? So I asked a lot of friends and family, what do you think I should do? And a lot of people said, you know what, you should probably get more industry experience so you feel more prepared to start your business. And I would probably say 95% of the people I asked said I should move to Toronto and get that experience. And then, of course, I just came to Winnipeg because I'm like, you know what? I think makes more sense to just get here, get started, and figure it out as I go, as opposed to delaying it any further. So, yeah.
Wow. So when you initially started your company, or
Mhm.
even to date, I'm sure things have evolved along the way. What would describe the way that your business is able to help businesses show
Mhm.
up? How are you able to, because I think that when someone is starting a business for the first time and trying to launch themselves and trying to market themselves, that is such a overwhelming piece of the puzzle. I feel like this is what I hear over and over again. It's like you can have a great business idea, you can know exactly what you're going to do, you can be as planned and prepared as you possibly can be, but then to actually launch the business, I feel like it can just become so overwhelming because there's so many things you think you should be doing, or don't do this, or please do that. And you're just trying to run your business. You're just trying to make a go at it. And there's all these like lightning bolts coming at you all the time, where we need people like you who are able to sort of like help encapsulate that and actually allow businesses to fly rather than just get caught up in the, oh, am I doing enough? Am I not doing enough? Is this working? Is this not working? And kind of just that spinning your wheels all the time, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think the issue is, like you said, we get stuck in this idea that there's so much we have to do. We have to do everything. And when it comes to launching a business, there's so many different ways you can do it, so many tools and platforms you can use. So of course, yeah, it's going to be difficult trying to figure out the best route for you. And as a business owner who likely doesn't have a social media background or experience, it's hard for you to focus on that when that's not your area of expertise, right? Your area of expertise is whatever your business is, right? So it's always preferred, if you can, to work in your zone of genius and then again outsource someone to help you with things that it's not in your skill set, right? For us, what we do when we're helping people launch, whether it's launching their business for the first time or launching different products, it's really about figuring out what their specific goals are for this launch, what their realistic expectations are, and what platforms make the most sense for them, right? There's hundreds of social media platforms out there, but it doesn't mean you have to be on all of them, right? We really like to focus on where are your target audience hanging out the most? Where are they spending the most time online, and where can we reach them? Right? Just because Facebook is the number one social media platform in the world, it doesn't mean we have to be on Facebook if your audience is on Instagram,
Right.
right? So it's really about honing things in and trying to be as strategic as possible with our efforts with the launch.
Oh, I love that you're saying that, because I think it's the overwhelm and the feeling like we have to be all the things to everybody and every area of our business, that things go sideways sometimes before they even really get to take off, because it's just so overwhelming, the day to day of like you said, not only running your business, like working in your business, but working on your business are two, we talk about this a lot here on the podcast, two very separate things, right? And
Yeah.
it's hard to do both really well when you don't have the support system around you, whether that be hiring contract workers or having other people on your team who can be a part of your growth.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes it doesn't matter. Again, when you're starting your business, sometimes you don't have the means to outsource. And that's fully understandable. But it's still trying to really be strategic about, okay, where do I need to spend most of my time? If that's on Instagram, then maybe I should take an Instagram course or a
Mm.
workshop or something that gives me enough knowledge to use this platform to the best of my ability for now, until I'm at a point in my business where I can outsource, right? So I totally understand that people don't always have the means to do that, but it's still about trying to be strategic with your efforts, as opposed to just jumping on whatever looks trendy at the time and overwhelming yourself.
Totally. That's such good advice. I think we sometimes underestimate the power of just taking a little tiny piece of something and just figuring that little piece out. And then saying, you know what, now I'm going to figure out this next little piece. Cause I know for me, I'm always I have to have it all figured out yesterday kind of person, which I think a lot of entrepreneurs kind of are, because you're always sort of moving at this pace, right? You're moving and trying to grow. And it's hard to press pause to say, you know what? I should probably either get somebody to do this for me, or maybe I just need to watch a YouTube video and this would give me just a snippet of information that would make me feel a little less overwhelmed.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And again, with social media, it's just so easy to get overwhelmed because there's so much out there. And even if you are focusing on one platform, I keep talking about Instagram because it's my core platform. But it's an example of a platform that has so many different layers to it, right? You can post content to your feed or to Reels or to IGTV or other spaces like that. And sometimes it looks like other people in our industry or just in business in general are doing all the things. We're like, okay, well, if they're doing every platform and every aspect of this platform, I need to be doing that too. I also need to be making 5 reels a day and 20 stories a day and 2 posts a day. You know what I mean? We see what other people are doing and we assume we have to do that as well to be as successful as we think they are.
Oh my goodness, you totally just nailed it. That is exactly what it is. And I was just actually having a conversation with somebody this week where we were talking about how when you're looking at somebody's feed on Instagram or scrolling and like seeing stuff where you see just like the exact right picture for the exact right thing. And wow, that looks like so great. And this person who hasn't used social media all that much was saying to me, they're like, I just can't figure this out. I'm like scrolling through and looking at these things, and these pictures are all just like exactly what they're talking about is their picture. And I'm like, listen, there is a strategy around this. That person wasn't actually doing this today, most likely.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
it's so easy to kind of get caught up in that, especially if you are feeling even just a tiny little bit maybe down about how business is going, or feeling like something has happened that you haven't been able to maybe show up in the way that you wish you were showing up in this exact current moment. And then you happen to be scrolling and then you see these things on there, and it's so easy to get in our heads and to
Yeah.
be like, everybody's doing it so perfect and I'm awful at everything, you know?
The thing is too, I think the thing people forget is that even if you're seeing someone putting out lots of content, it's very engaging, they seem like they're doing the most, that doesn't always translate directly to success, right? So I
Mm.
get a lot of clients and potential clients talking about, okay, well, I only have 2,000 followers and a lot of people in my industry have 10,000 or 100,000 or what have you. And I always ask people, okay, how much money do you think they're making at 100,000 followers? And they usually look a little puzzled because I'm like, oh, the reason why you're puzzled right now is because the amount of income someone was making is not dependent on how many followers they have. People assume that if you have a lot of followers on social media, that you're making a lot of money in your business, and those
Right.
two things don't have that correlation. So even if you do come across someone who's doing the most on social media and their content seems to be bang on, you have no idea what's going on in the back end of their business and if what they're doing right now is actually working for them.
That is so brilliant of you to say. I love how easy you just described that, because that is so true. We put
Yeah.
such a high value on that little teeny tiny number sitting at
Yeah.
the top of our Instagram feed
Yeah.
when Yeah, like nobody is going and asking somebody else. I mean, maybe they are. I have never heard of anybody doing this of being like, "Hey, so how much money did you make this week in Instagram followers? Like you got this,
Yeah,
like that's not even a thing that is talked about." So you're
yeah,
so right.
yeah.
We need to
It's
give ourselves a break.
we do. It's tough. It's tough, and it's hard because it's hard to compare ourselves to other people because we only can see so much information from them, right? We can see the number of followers, we can see how often they're posting and things like that, but we have no idea what's going on in the back end. So we can't really
Well,
put too much
totally.
stock
Like,
in that.
are they curled up in fetal position, crying their eyes out for the whole rest of the
Exactly.
night? Could be.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're so
Exactly. Who
tired of
knows?
making videos.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's true. I made a reel. I'm just getting into reels, and reels came out last year. And I made a few, and it took me hours. But if you're someone who's watching my reel, you see a 10-second reel, you have no idea how much work went into that and how drained it made me that day, right? You have no idea.
That is so true. Where you're like, I need a break. This is like just too
Yeah.
much. This one reel. That I'm hear you on reels. That could be a whole nother episode. Those
Yeah.
reels are their own beast. I am
They are.
very slowly snail paced learning the reels.
Yeah. Yeah, even me too. Me too, right? Like I think a lot of people think, oh, well, you're a social media manager and you love Instagram, like you know everything about it. I'm like, I know a lot about it. Definitely enough to teach and to support people in this realm. But Instagram grows like it comes up with a new feature every other day. So
Yes.
even I can't keep up with it 24/7, right? So just because a new feature might launch today doesn't mean I'm going to explore it today and understand it today. It might take me weeks or even a couple of months depending on what's going on, right? So there's always a lot
That's
happening.
that's so true. You're giving us so much grace to ourselves today. This is fabulous. We can't know it all. Um,
Exactly.
so what would you say in your opinion right now as you chat with business owners, entrepreneurs, and help them in their businesses, what would you say are some of the sort of most common hangups that you see entrepreneurs kind of coming into when it comes to their social strategy or their marketing strategy that they kind of just get stuck on and can't get out of? And maybe just like a few easy ways to streamline that for somebody who's just wanting to ease into maybe being a little bit more consistent on social media.
Yeah. And I think you just said it, like consistency is one thing that people struggle with the most when it comes to social media. They're like, I don't have time to post. Creating a post takes me a long time. I don't know what to do or what to talk about. And I always ask them, okay, well, are you posting on the fly or are you scheduling your content in advance? Like, oh, well, no, I post it, day to day. I'm like, okay, well, that's probably one of your biggest hangups because it takes you longer and more brain power to create all of your content on the fly than it does to sit down for an hour a week and write out your posts for that week and schedule them, right? It's going to take you more time to try and be creative and strategic in the moment than if you're thinking about what your goals are and what you want your message to be for that week. So I always find when clients finally decide to pre-plan their content and schedule, it goes a lot smoother, the more strategic, things flow better together, and they get better results in terms of engagement. So consistency is one of them, and the best way to do that is to schedule your content.
That's so smart. When you kind of just have to get into a rhythm of it. Hey, like I think
Yeah.
sometimes things can feel like, oh, but then I have to figure that out. And then I have to schedule and I have to actually find an hour versus
Yeah.
what maybe feels like, oh, well, I could just do this in 15 minutes and then I'll be done. When really you're totally right. Like if you can get into the rhythm of, I've gotten into myself into the rhythm of, I go on and off again with it. There's some
Yeah.
weeks that just fall by the wayside. I'm like, this
Yeah.
is just not happening according to plan. And then my weeks always guaranteed feel better when I can batch a week at a time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. And I think the thing is too, people think being consistent also means you have to post a lot of content.
right.
So I always tell people don't confuse consistency with frequency,
Mm,
right? So for Instagram, for example, and Facebook, I would say, I always recommend posting, at least 3 times a week to your feed.
right.
So that is relatively achievable depending on, again, your schedule and how much time you have. But to sit down for an hour or less and to write 3 posts for the week, you could probably manage to do that and find time in your calendar to do that. And as long as you're doing that consistently, I think that's enough to, help grow your community with quality followers, get quality engagement and things like that. Where people struggle is, again, they think they need to post every single day, so they're trying to post 7 days a week. But
Mhm.
again, the more you're trying to push yourself to post beyond your limits or beyond your capabilities, the less strategic your content's going to be. And now you're just sharing random stuff that's not even helping you connect with your target audience.
This so leads me right into what I wanted to ask you next. I'm so glad you said this because I feel like that is for sure something I've experienced myself, and I've heard a lot of friends and business owners talk about too, this feeling of what is the magic formula to, I guess, determining what to post in regards to showing up like as yourself and wanting to share your story, especially if you are a business owner. I find this a lot for service-based businesses that I've worked with in the past. Like when I'm helping them with their events or helping to do some PR or marketing stuff for their business, all of these things naturally flow, and social media ends up coming up into the topic of conversation just to figure out how to market something when you're launching a new event or a new whatever.
Right.
And that's always the thing. What is the balance? What's the happy secret sauce to the I'm sharing my story and showing up as myself, but
Mhm.
also wanting to talk about products or services that I'm doing. I don't want to be too salesy. I'm using air
Yeah.
quotes here because that's like a term that nobody wants to be viewed as, but I don't want to be too salesy, but I want to make sure people know what I do. And there's just always this kind of happy place, this flow that we're trying to get in. And you
Yeah.
see certain people when you're looking where you're like, wow, they are just nailing this. Like they just have this flow figured out, and you don't feel like you're being sold to. It just feels natural what's coming up. You feel like you're getting
Yeah.
to know them and they're just in the zone. And then you can definitely tell the ones that aren't in the zone where you're like,
Yeah.
oh, this is just not sort of, this is not my vibes. I am not your person and you are not my person. And that is okay.
No, I totally know what you mean. I think, again, that's something a lot of people struggle with. Okay, it's like, what's the balance? Because I have to talk about my products and services at some point, right? I always tell people, when it comes to posting to your feed, for example, and this is just a general tip, but usually when it comes to posting to your Instagram or Facebook feed, I usually try and say, okay, you can post like one direct promo per week. And by direct promo, I mean one that has a call to action to book
Mm.
or buy from you. This really depends on your industry and what your business is, but that's more like general advice. The way I like to think of it a bit better than that is to think about what you can teach your audience, right? So no matter what your industry is, you are an expert at what you do and at what you're dealing with your clients and customers. So what can you teach them? How can you inform them today? Because Google or Pinterest, Instagram is essentially a search engine, right? And people are going there not just to look at selfies and pictures of food anymore, although that content still performs well. People are going there for information and to learn something that's going to better themselves in life, business, relationships, careers, whatever it is. So what can you put out there that's going to educate someone and see you as a valuable resource, right? So for us, for example, for Strategic Charm, we only do like a direct promo with a call to action to like work with us, maybe I want to say twice a month. And again, that depends on the industry, but we focus more on what can we teach our audience today, right? Because people already have an idea of what we do. And yes, we like to remind them of our services, but more than that, we want to show them or give them content that they can apply to their business today, that they can apply to their social media today. We want to make sure we're positioning ourselves as the answer to their problem. And usually they take it upon themselves to decide, okay, you know what, I need more help than these posts that I see each week. So let me reach out and want to work with them.
That is so brilliant. I love that. So it's really just kind of pivoting our mindset a little bit in recognizing, because I often think to myself, like when I see somebody's post that resonates with me,
Mhm.
because I'm always on the outlook for things like this. And I like, and my wheels are always turning as I'm scrolling through stuff. I'm like, oh, that was such a smart way to word that. Like, I didn't feel like you were actually selling me anything. I just felt like you were
Yeah.
talking about how brilliant this was. And I'm like, no, I want that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I always tell people, like, every post you share online for your business is a promotional post to some degree. It's something
Right.
that's promoting either your products or your services or your brand in some way, even if there's no call to action to book with you or to buy from you.
Right.
Right. I know for me, like, I love Instagram stories. That's probably my favorite space to be online. And oftentimes it's me just popping in and kind of showing the behind the scenes of my business or talking about my day, talking about what I'm watching on Netflix. Like, that's my chance to let my personality shine through and connect with my audience on a more personal level. And it's that usually tends to grow our community with quality followers, and that actually leads to business, right? So you don't have to be talking about business 24/7 to gain business, right?
Right.
With marketing, whether it's online or traditional or whatever it is, it's really about building up that know, like, and trust factor, right? So the more people know you, like you, and trust you, the more likely they are to invest in the products and services that you're offering, right? So not only is it a balance of sharing direct promo posts and educational posts, it's a balance of also sharing your own personality into your content as well, and let people get to know you behind the brand.
Oh, I love that. That is so great. Well, and I often try to, somebody said this to me once, and I can't even remember where I heard this, but it was almost comparing Instagram or Facebook, whatever social platform you're on, comparing that to a networking cocktail party
Mhm.
where the like, this, your profile is either like your home or your business or your front door, and you're like, hey guys, come on in, welcome here.
Yeah.
And like welcoming people in. And then, okay, what do you say to somebody when they come over to your house, or when you meet someone at a cocktail party, or whatever the case may be? Like, you're not just blasting into, hey, buy this from me.
Yeah.
That would
Yeah.
never be like the social norm of what people would do most generally in situations like that. So kind of using that as the, would I do this in real life at this? No, I probably wouldn't. So let's just like
And
tone it down.
it's funny because some people would. I've been to some networking events where people just right away talking about their products and their services. I'm like, oh, you don't even know what my name is. Like, right? And in that moment, I'm like, you are totally pitching to a very cold audience. You have no idea what my needs are, or if I'm the right fit
Yeah.
for whatever it is that you're pushing on me. But I have met some people in person where this, like, within a minute, I'm being pitched about their products. I'm like, oh my goodness, you are wasting your time and mine.
You're like, whoa, dude, haven't even gotten my glass of wine yet. Ease up.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And half the time, I'm only there for the wine. So no matter what you're
Yeah,
trying to sell, I'm probably not going to buy it.
seriously. And you're like, you can't click unfollow when you're in person at a
Yeah,
networking party.
yeah, yeah. I have to literally turn away and then.
The
Yeah,
actual physical
exactly.
turnaround is the in-person unfollow. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
I love it.
exactly.
I love it. So what would you say would be some intentional, you've addressed this a little bit already, but some intentional kind of branding ideas. So whether a business is brand new, or whether, like you said, maybe you're launching a new product, it's sort of this like ever evolving. Most businesses are not staying in this sort of like complacent state for a long period of time. You're either
Right.
amping up what you do, or you're adding new things in, or you're trying to find fresh ways to make something feel new, whatever the case may be. What would be some intentional ideas that someone could do to just bring a fresh, especially right now, as we're still in this very weird situation, we'll call it, in the
Yeah.
world, where maybe we've gotten to the point where we've forgotten what business was even like beforehand. Maybe we're so far in now that we can't even look back. But how do we now, as even like summer's coming up and we're trying to figure out how to stay current and fresh in our businesses while still really not having the same in-person type of things coming up? How do we stay
Right.
fresh? How do we add some pizzazz to what we're doing?
Absolutely. Well, I think the biggest thing is to look at what you're currently doing and figure out, okay, well, what's trying to figure out what parts of your strategy right now have been working, and where you can make some tweaks, right? So this is one of those situations where you can look and kind of just get a general sense of what other people are doing and strategically trying to think, okay, is that something, one, that I have the capacity for? And does it actually match our brand and our target audience and things like that, right? So, for example, like I mentioned before, Reels is something that came out late last year, and people are going bananas over it, right? So a lot of people who've been using Reels consistently since the beginning have seen massive, massive growth with their Instagram platforms. And because it's a newer feature, when you're creating Reels on Instagram, they're more likely, and by them, I mean Instagram, they're more likely to show your Reels on more explore pages to help get more traction there. So if you're someone right now, you're like, okay, you know what? I feel like I'm kind of in a rut. I don't know what new, fresh thing we can do to kind of stay current. Look at the most current trend and figure out how you can adapt that and bring that into your business. Now, I don't mean that in a way that's going to overwhelm you. So again, not trying to create 5 Reels a week, maybe to start with 1 and kind of see how often you can do that. But because that's what a lot of people are drawn to right now, figure out how to make that part of your business. I think when this situation first hit, a lot of people went to move to do live video a lot on Instagram and on Facebook and other social media platforms. So if you're a fitness instructor, you were teaching, live fitness classes on Instagram or Facebook. Or if you were someone like me who teaches a lot of workshops, usually, maybe you're teaching like a mini workshop on there. I think a lot of people adapted that as their new thing to stay fresh and relevant. But a year later, I think people are now trying to figure, okay, well, what's the next thing we can adapt to? And I think Reels is probably it.
That's so great. So I'm going to ask the question that I'm guessing so many people are thinking, but too embarrassed to say out loud. And I'm always the one prepared to put my foot in my mouth. So no shame here.
Yeah.
Can you talking about Reels, talking about, I feel like we could feel like we're speaking a completely different language. The Reels, the stories, the highlights, the feed, all the things. What would you say right now as you've been learning more about Reels? And I love that you said that you aren't an expert on it immediately. You have to do hard work just like we do, even though this is your industry.
Yeah.
Where would you see the purpose of somebody, like you were talking about your stories and how you're able to share more real parts of your life and just like kind of fun things? Where do Reels fit into the picture? If someone was deciding to do a Reel, because I'll be honest, straight up, that has been my hang up on the Reels. Not that I can't figure out how to do the Reels, which was its own little feat to continue to learn, but why do a Reel? What the heck am I supposed to put on this Reel? Like that would be different than doing something on my Instagram story or just a regular post. Can you debunk this for us and talk about what, when, and why?
Reels are supposed to be a bit more fun, right? So with stories, it can be either fun or just simply informative at the base level, or it could even be mundane, depending on how you're approaching it. Same with posts on your feed. But the idea with Reels is that, a lot of people who are seeing success with Reels are creating videos to fun music. They're doing little dances, but still talking about their products and services, or educating people on different aspects of their industry. They're using funny little voiceovers. I love Friends, and Ross is one of my favorite characters on Friends. And there's some voice clips of him on Reels. And I haven't shared them yet, but I've recorded a couple in his voice. But what I'm doing is I am, creating captions that relate back to Instagram marketing, right? So it's something that's funny. It's going to draw people's attention, especially if you've seen Friends and you like that show. But it's not something I would typically do in stories. It'd be weird if I went in stories and tried to recreate, a scene from Friends and trying to make it Instagram related. But with Reels, that's where you have a chance to be more fun and more quirky.
I love it. So the Reel that we get to look forward to is you sharing details about Instagram stories, but it's Ross's voice, and it looks like it's your voice.
Yeah. It's coming. It's coming. Wait. It's going to be fun. It's very short. It took a long time to record, but it's coming.
A lot of wow factor, tiny wow factor, for a lot of work. I cannot wait.
For a lot of work. Yeah, yeah,
Well,
exactly.
I will have all of your links shared in the show notes that we can stay tuned to the epic reels that are going to be storming our feed. I absolutely love it. So to wrap up the interview, I could talk with you for hours. I just want to say, first of all, before I ask you my fun questions at the end of the interview, thank you so much for just honestly being able to give real practical advice, because I think that sometimes all that a person needs to just give them that little boost of, I can
Yeah,
do this.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And if you can't do it all, that's fine. You're not expected to. I don't do it all, so I can't expect anyone else to.
I love it. We're in this together. We are
Yeah,
in this together as business owners.
absolutely.
Okay, so are you ready for my lightning round questions of getting
Yes,
to know Charmaine? Well,
sure.
you already answered. We already know that you love Friends, so that's a great tip to know about you. Okay. What book are you currently reading? Paper, ebook, audiobook, whatever.
It's called Be Unapologetically You. It's by Adeline Bird. She's a local Winnipegger.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I'll have to share that link in the show notes too. That sounds like a book I need to add to my list. My list is getting too long. Like
Mine as well.
the list to what's possible to consume is not ever
Yeah.
lining up. And I just keep hearing these awesome, awesome books. And I wish that there was a way for
Yeah.
it to be like subliminally put into my consciousness so that there were more hours in a day or something.
For sure. I understand.
Okay. Are you a coffee drinker?
Yes.
And what is your coffee order?
Oh, okay. I've been on a Starbucks kick lately, which is terrible because it's expensive.
What's so
But my go-to my go-to Starbucks order is a venti ice white mocha with sweet cream foam and extra caramel drizzle.
Oh, wow. You go for it. And that sounds
Yeah,
delicious.
yeah. I saw it on a TikTok and now I'm obsessed.
Social media works.
Yes, it does.
I love that. Okay. This is always kind of a bit of a harder question, but currently, right now, where you are at in your life, what would the theme song of your life be?
Oh, you know what? I'm sure I'll change my mind after the fact, but I think right now it would be This Girl Is on Fire by Alicia Keys.
I love it. That's like the line in our household. I have two daughters, and
Yeah.
if they've like said something clever or witty, or they like finish something ahead of schedule in school or doing whatever, that's always our like, this girl is on fire. Go
Yeah.
for it. And you
It's
can just
just
like,
so uplifting.
it is. You just
Yeah.
see them lighting up from their toes all the way to their head, where they're just like, yeah, I did that.
Yeah.
That's a great pick. Great pick. Okay, we know what your delicious coffee drink is, but what is your go-to junk food?
Ooh, I definitely have a sweet tooth. And I would say my most guilty pleasure is a cookie sandwich from Generate Cakes.
What
Yeah.
is this place? I have not heard of this place.
Oh, Generate! It's a very, very popular bakery. I think there's just two locations right now in Winnipeg, and they're opening up a third one, but they also ship across Canada, I believe. But it's just like it's so good. It's just two cookies with icing in the middle. And anything that has peanut butter in it, I'm all about. And they make like a peanut butter marshmallow square cookie sandwich, and I'm all about it.
Oh my word. I knew we'd get along just great. You had me at
Yeah,
peanut butter. That
yeah.
is also my
Anything with peanut butter.
anything can be dipped into peanut butter. So good.
Yes.
I love it. Oh. Okay. When was the last time that you really belly laughed? Something so funny. And what were you laughing about?
Oh, I laugh a lot. I belly laugh probably every day. Um, uh, Mainly because I think I'm funny, so I just make myself laugh. But also, I watch a lot of TikTok and I find some really good ones. So usually every day I have a nice deep belly laugh.
That is such a healthy thing to do. Good girl. I love it. Okay, last but not least,
Yeah.
once the world reopens and the world is our oyster, where would you most like to travel?
Ooh, good question. The top two places on my travel list would be Bali and Greece. Those are my two main ones. That would be fantastic. I doubt either would be my first trip after everything's like regular, but they're very high on my list.
We're just gonna be happy to cross a provincial border here.
Exactly. I'd probably go to my first trip will probably be to Calgary. I have family out there, so that'll probably be my first real trip. But like my dream trip would be Bali or Greece.
Ours will definitely be Calgary too. Meet you there. That's where family lives too. And yeah, Calgary's on the high list. I was in Bali. I had the pleasure of being in Bali many years ago. I won't tell you how many years because that will make me all of a sudden seem really, really old. But it was awesome. It was awesome. It
I
was
believe
so
that.
beautiful. And the people were so lovely. And it was just warm and fuzzy about Bali.
Did you go for a retreat or just for like just for fun?
No, well, I lived in Taiwan for a year,
Okay.
which you ask, what does that have to do with Bali? Because that's nowhere near. But I was 20, footloose,
Yeah.
fancy free, nothing holding me
Nice.
back. And me and a few girlfriends went to Bali for the weekend, which was still an 8-hour flight from
Oh
Taiwan.
wow.
Wasn't a
Jeez, for a
weekend
weekend.
Yeah, it was not a weekend getaway, but that is
Yeah.
what we did it in. And we powered through, I think we had like 4 days there. I think it was like a long weekend, but still flew there, just powered through, and obviously did not get to see near all of the amazing things we wanted to see, but got to do so many cool things. We were on the water, like sunrise with dolphins, and like it was very magical. Highly
That's what I
recommend.
want.
Yeah,
That's what I
highly
want.
recommend.
Yeah.
Well, until then, we will be dreaming about our dolphins and our beaches, just visualizing it in our minds.
Yeah.
This has been such a fun conversation, Charmaine. Thank you so much for being on the show. You are just a gem, and I am so grateful that you shared your gifts with us today.
Aw, thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun for me too.